Hi, I just finished high school and I'm here to answer 5 questions. And the next time you will be seeing me, I will be answering the same 5 questions after I finish university. Okay, so first question is, what do you think you'll miss most about high school? Well, that one I'm gonna have to say would be absolutely nothing. That's the shortest answer, the most straightforward answer I can give you. I don't think there is anything I will miss about high school. Hi guys, so I am back to answer 5 questions again. I have just finished university and it's been a journey. So I'm back to answer basically the same or similar versions of the 5 questions I answered when I just finished high school. So let's jump straight into it, okay? Question number 1 was, what did I miss most about high school? And if I remember correctly, I think they probably showed the clip already. It was nothing, because I didn't think I'd miss anything about high school. And in a sense, that's still true. I don't particularly miss high school. I miss the accountability in a sense, because I studied away from home, which meant I didn't have people like family members around me. I was solo for the first time. And when you're in high school, you have your teachers and your parents on your case constantly, making sure you're doing your homework, making sure you're studying. And as annoying as that is in high school, it's kind of a good thing because they keep you accountable and they basically force you to study and force you to do your homework. But when you get to university, you're in humongous classes. There are so many people in your class that your lecturers cannot worry about every single person doing the assignments and everything. If you don't hand it in, you just don't hand it in and you get a 0 and you fail. There's no one to make sure you're studying for your tests. You have to learn to take that responsibility on yourself. You need to learn how to keep yourself accountable, and that's something that's really tough to learn, because it's a lot easier to just not study and binge a couple of Netflix shows than it is to say, I need to study, especially when you're in your first couple of years, you're perhaps staying on campus, there's always things happening. So like keeping yourself accountable is hard. It's difficult, because in high school you had your parents and your teachers constantly on your case and it kept you accountable. But now you have to do it yourself, and I think that's an aspect of being in school that I missed during university, because you had to learn to kind of do that for yourself. So it's not high school so much that I miss, it's that specific aspect of school that I kind of miss. Okay, second question. What is one thing that you wished you learned in high school? Well, and this might sound a little weird, I'd say taxes, learning to buy a house and a car. You never learned things like that. Like, if I were in the position to buy a house after just graduating high school, I wouldn't know what to do, because I never learned. I don't know how taxes work. I don't know how you buy a car. I don't know how you go about getting a loan from a bank. Those kind of, I think, practical life lessons were really lacking in high school. But, in math, they told me how to find the angle of the line in a circle. So, I guess that's fun. Okay, so the second question was, what is something I wished I learned in high school? And they kind of changed it. What is something that I now wish I learned in university? And there's a lot of things I can answer, because I still don't know how to buy a house. I still don't know how taxes work. because that's not the direction I studied in. So that's still one of the things. But I think something I wish I learned was how it would feel to be done. So if you're done studying completely, because you jump straight from high school into university, so it's a continuous cycle of studying. You never actually stop. But then when you finish university, you stop for the first time. And that's a very strange feeling. And you can go through a kind of burnout phase because your brain was active for basically, 15 years, 17 years, depending on how long you studied. And then it all just stops. And that stopping it's a shock to the system. You feel tired and burned out, and sometimes like you don't most people don't walk into a job straight out of university unless you're really lucky. So for a while you're just living, and it feels like I wish they gave us more tools to kind of handle what it would feel like to be done, because I don't think they actually explained the psychological thing. And you can take care of yourself as well as you want to during your studies, but once it stops, there's a shock to your system that I was not prepared for. So yeah, that and taxes and buying a house I wish I knew or learned about. Okay, question number 3. Which year do you think was the hardest? Well, I would say 11th grade. So what, the 4th year of high school? 11th grade. Only because those are the grades that kind of really make or break you with regards to getting into university. I mean, I know they still look at your final matric results, but your conditional, they did teach me to speak English in school. Your conditional acceptance into a university depends on 11th grade marks. Also, you don't learn a lot of new work in 12th grade. You basically just build on to the work you already learned in 11th grade. So 12th grade is basically just refining your knowledge. It's not it's a lot of work, but I feel like 11th grade is when they really start amping up things, and that is why I have to say 11th grade, there's a lot of pressure in 11th grade, because that's the marks they're going to use for you to get conditionally accepted into college or university, and that's when the most new work comes in. I feel like the most new concepts to grasp. So yeah, I'll have to say 11th grade. Okay, so the third question was, what was the toughest year? Okay, so I think with high school I answered, 11th grade, which is pretty late. It's like your second to last year. With university, I think it's actually the first or second year, because it's a very, very big change from high school, which a lot of people say, and you don't actually get it until you're there. It's a big adjustment, especially if you're studying away from home for the first time, you're alone by yourself. And it's tough because you're still learning to keep yourself accountable. Like I said in the first question, it's very easy to just not study and just relax or go out with friends. So the first 2 years is really, I think, an adjustment period, and you're kind of forced to not only adjust to this new normal, but you're also expected to keep your grades up, to make sure you pass your subjects, and you learn to be a lot more comfortable with lower grades, because it's from high school you're like, okay, I need a distinction, and then you get to university, it's like, okay, I just need to pass. But yeah, I think the toughest year is definitely the first and second one, because it's just that adjustment. I feel like when you get to your third or your fourth, like your final years, you're pretty much used to how things work now, and then it's not that the work is easier, it's just you're just used to it now. The first year and the second year, you're still getting used to things. So yeah, I think that not knowing what to expect, that first and second year is definitely the toughest part of the whole thing. Okay, question number 4. Did your school have a uniform or not? And if it did, how did you feel about wearing the same uniform every day? Okay, well, we did have a uniform. It was green, and then a white shirt with basically just the badge. And then if it was winter time, which we don't really get here where I live, you don't really get winter. It doesn't really get that cold, but you had to wear a blazer and like stockings, which are very annoying. With regards to how I felt about it, it's just that there were some people that looked really nice in their school uniform, and then there were some people like me who just didn't. And it's not that you looked horrible, it's just that the school uniform is pretty uniform, if you catch my drift, in the sense that it doesn't take into account different body shapes, how tall or how short you are, and thus because it is the same for everyone, it just doesn't really fit all that great. But it did look really nice, for example, when you're competing against another school and your school all looked like the same, they had their blazers on. So I think there's a good and a bad to it. I mean, it shows school unity, but it also, you know, mostly ill-fitting, and they just never get the color combos right. I mean, can't we just stick to like black skirts and white shirts? That just looks, that is, I think, universally better looking on more people than green. Okay, but yeah, so that is my opinion on the uniform thing. Okay, so the 4th question was kind of a fun one. It's just about the school uniform, and obviously you don't really wear uniforms in university, so they kind of revamped it. It's like, did you miss the school uniform when you were studying? I'm not going to say I missed the actual uniform. I'm going to say I missed knowing what I was going to wear every day. Because, you know, you kind of have to pick out clothes every morning now. And yeah, in your first year, you're still kind of trying to impress people. So you would put outfits together and, you know, but then by your second year, just like, I don't care. You will go to class in your pajamas or in your sweats. You just don't care anymore. But it's the wearing your own clothes the whole time. Also, your clothes get worn out so quickly. So I missed, yeah, I could say I missed having a uniform and having the knowledge of knowing what I was going to wear every single day, and not actually wearing out my own clothes, because yeah, so kind of missed the uniform, kind of. Okay, last question. If you could give any advice to a current high school student, what would it be? Giving advice. I just finished high school now. Well, work hard, I guess. I know it sounds really, really ridiculous, but these 5 years are really gonna determine a lot of where your life goes, because even if you don't want to go to university, if you want to go into a certain direction, you may want to do well in that sort of subjects. Yeah, hard work is important, and it's not always easy, because during high school you go through a lot of things change, and sometimes you're a teenager with mood swings, and sometimes the world just feels unbearable and you feel like nobody understands you. So it's tough to focus on schoolwork when your brain is just filled with hormones and stupid thoughts, and you know, you're starting to get like grow attracted to people, and that confuses you, and there's the whole friendship thing, and all of that can get very intimidating. But I think that what you learn from, I think, movies is that high school isn't forever, okay? And essentially no one's gonna remember high school if they didn't peak in high school. So if you have a very big plan for your future, high school is not going to be that significant in 10 years, which I'm really glad about. But having just finished high school, I know that when you're in high school, it feels like everything. Okay, high school feels like your whole entire world, and essentially it is. But you need to be able to, even through all the confusion and hormones and friendships, be able to discern between what is important and what is not. So if you're someone who's really good at sports and you think that your sports are going to get you a scholarship, perhaps focus on that, but don't forget to focus on the work as well. Even if you hate your subjects, doing well is just going to benefit you in the future. And don't be afraid to ask for help, okay? Your teachers are there to help you. Even if you feel like they hate you or you really don't like them, then ask someone else who's really good in your class, because in the end these things are going to get you somewhere someday. So focus on the important things. Make sure you remember what is actually important about high school and what no one is going to remember about high school. Because I just feel like focus on the important things, and you need to really work hard through some of the most confusing years of your life. And then the last question, if I have any advice for someone who's just starting university or going through university. You need to get it right from the start. And that's not always possible, because you make a lot of mistakes at the beginning when you're just starting, because like I said, it's a big adjustment. But there's a lot of distractions, especially if you're staying on campus. There's a lot of campus activity. There's a lot of making new friends. There's a lot of things that are going on that are not related to your studies. And it's very easy to get distracted by these things, because if you're someone who's now for the first time on your own, it's like a sense of freedom, and you want to explore that freedom as much as possible because it's something new, it's something exciting. But you need to remember why you're there, and getting that right from the start will make things a lot easier down the road. Because if you allow that distractions to creep in at the beginning, it's gonna take it's gonna be a lot tougher to get it right or balance it back later in your journey. So as fun as this newfound freedom is, and as fun as the campus activities are, and making new friends, those are all very important, don't get me wrong, but you need to remember why you're there. Don't let the distractions cause you to lose sight of why you're there, and may potentially influence your whole future negatively. So as tough as it may be, know why you're going and make sure you don't get too distracted. Try to get it right from the start. That is the piece of advice I will give to someone who is basically just starting with university. Okay, so that was the 5 questions, I'm guessing. Yeah, this was kind of fun. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. Hopefully you kind of learned something. I don't know who's going to watch this. Yeah, so I guess we're done. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Okay, so those are the 5 questions done and dusted. Again, it was fun to see how much they changed in the couple of years. The difference between just out of high school and just done with university. I think there's definitely a lot of, but this was fun. I kind of really saw how I changed, and in some aspects how I stayed the same. So yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. This was really fun.